Disclaimer: this content is intended for a mature audience only. Viewer direction is advised. The steam curled around me, clinging to my skin like a secret I wasn't ready to share. The water ran down my body, tracing every curve, when suddenly I heard the faint creak of the bathroom door. My heart skipped. I didn't call out. Something in me wanted to see what would happen if I stayed silent. The air shifted. I could feel him before I saw him. His steps were steady, deliberate, carrying that quiet authority that always made my breath catch. The soft mist blurred the space between us, but the intensity in his eyes cut through the haze the moment he drew closer. My back pressed instinctively against the cool tiles, as if my body already knew what his nearness meant. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. Every glance lingered longer than it should, every inhale carried weight, like he was drinking me in. The warmth of the water collided with the heat in his presence, and suddenly the bathroom felt smaller, tighter, charged with something unspoken yet undeniable. I could hear his breathing now, deep and measured, sinking with the rush of water. My lips parted but no words came out, only silence, thick with tension. His hand brushed lightly along my arm, a fleeting touch that felt like fire against damp skin. It wasn't just a touch, it was a promise, a warning, a question he already knew the answer to. The world beyond that steamy room no longer existed. The water kept falling, but it was his gaze, his closeness, that drenched me more than anything else. My body trembled, not from the chill of the tiles, but from the pull between us, the undeniable gravity of a moment balanced on the edge of surrender. And just when I thought I knew what was coming, he leaned in, his breath warm against my ear, his presence pressing me deeper against the wall. The space between hesitation and desire vanished, leaving only the dangerous, thrilling unknown. What happened next? I can't say. Not yet. But in that moment, soaked in steam and silence, I realized there was no turning back. The steam thickened around us, curling like a veil that hid nothing yet revealed everything. The water slid down my shoulders, and I could feel the rhythm of my heartbeat quicken as he stepped closer. His presence filled the room in a way no sound could. My back stayed pressed against the tiles, cool against heated skin, grounding me as the air between us grew heavy. His hand brushed the droplets from my arm, almost absent-mindedly, but the gesture lingered far too long to be casual. Every stroke left a trail of heat despite the water already streaming over me. I shifted, just slightly, and the movement brought us closer than I expected. Our eyes locked, his gaze steady, mine searching for air in a room that had none left to give. A quiet laugh escaped him, low and almost teasing, like he knew exactly the effect he had on me. I felt my lips part, a whisper caught somewhere between protest and invitation, but no words left. Instead, the silence spoke louder than anything, broken only by the rush of water and the sound of his breath brushing across my cheek. His fingers trailed upward, grazing along my wrist before finding the curve of my shoulder. I shivered, not from the chill, but from the awareness that every move was deliberate, that each accidental touch was no accident at all. My skin seemed to wait for the next place he would claim. I turned slightly, the mist blurring our outlines, and in that shift his chest brushed against mine. The contact was brief, fleeting, but it sent sparks ricocheting through the small space. Our eyes met again, closer this time, darker, a conversation unfolding without words. His lips hovered near mine, so close I could taste the unspoken tension on the air, but he held back. It was in those stolen inches, in the pauses between touches, that everything changed. My pulse raced, my body caught between restraint and surrender, every nerve tuned to the possibility of what might happen if one of us dared to close the gap. And then, with his breath hot against my ear, his voice dropped to a whisper. One sentence. One question. One choice. The line was right there, thin, fragile, waiting to be crossed. The water continued its steady rhythm, beating against my skin, but it was his nearness that made my body tremble. Every inch between us shrank until I could feel the heat radiating from him, mingling with the steam that wrapped us in secrecy. His arm brushed mine again, an innocent contact that felt anything but. My breath hitched, shallow and uneven, as if my lungs could no longer keep up with the storm building inside me. He leaned in, his lips so close they nearly grazed my temple, and whispered something I couldn't quite catch. The words didn't matter, it was the way his voice dropped, low and husky, that sent shivers racing down my spine. My hand, almost against my will, rose to touch the tiled wall behind me, as though anchoring myself against the gravity pulling us closer. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, I forgot how to blink. His gaze carried a dangerous softness, like he was torn between restraint and surrender. The longer he held me there, the more my body betrayed me, leaning forward, closing the distance, craving the contact I swore I wouldn't allow. His breath mingled with mine, warm and uneven, and I felt the faintest graze of his knuckles along my hip. The touch was subtle, cautious, yet it sent a surge of electricity through me. I pressed harder into the tiles, my chest rising and falling in quick, shallow breaths. He noticed, of course he noticed, and the faint curve of a knowing smile ghosted across his lips. The space between our mouths dwindled to a whisper, the kind of closeness that screamed of inevitability yet paused just shy of fulfillment. My lips tingled with anticipation, aching for the moment that refused to come. He tilted his head, his nose brushing against mine, and the world tilted with it. I wanted to pull away. I wanted to close the gap. I wanted both, and in that indecision lay the fire neither of us could extinguish. His hand rose, pressing lightly against the wall beside my face, caging me in without force. His presence surrounded me, pressing closer, tighter, until every beat of my heart felt like it might betray the choice I hadn't yet made. The line was razor thin now, one breath, one glance, one slip away from being crossed forever. The sound of the shower filled the room, steady and relentless, but beneath it pulsed something wilder, louder, the rhythm of our breathing, uneven and ragged, fighting against restraint. His body hovered close enough that the warmth of his skin seeped into mine, the space between us a fragile illusion waiting to shatter. His hand slid along the tile beside my head, droplets running down his arm, catching the light. I could feel the weight of his presence pressing in, commanding yet careful, as though he was daring me to move, daring me to break first. My chest rose sharply when his shoulder brushed against mine, the brief contact sparking like a match in dry air. Every small movement felt magnified, the way his gaze lingered on my lips, the tilt of his head, the sharp inhale he tried to hide. I swallowed hard, but the lump in my throat only reminded me how dangerously close we were to crossing a line we couldn't retreat from. His fingers ghosted along my jaw, tracing lightly, reverently, and my knees nearly buckled from the intensity of such a delicate touch. My lips parted with a soft breath I couldn't contain, and that was all it took for his other hand to find my waist, not gripping, not pulling, just resting there, claiming space he had no right to. I leaned into the wall, needing its coolness, because my body burned everywhere he hovered. The air between us thickened, heavy with temptation, every second stretched like a taut string threatening to snap. He moved closer still, his nose brushing mine, his lips hovering a whisper away. The anticipation was unbearable, every heartbeat crashing louder than the water around us. I could taste the moment before it happened, raw, electric, inevitable. His breath hitched, mine answered, and the silence screamed louder than words. My hand rose instinctively, pressing against his chest, but instead of pushing him away, I lingered there, feeling the rapid pound of his heart against my palm. We were balanced on the edge, trembling, teetering, caught in the gravity of desire too strong to resist. And then, he leaned in, closer than ever, his lips grazing mine without sealing the promise. A stolen half-kiss, dangerous and unfinished, leaving us hanging in a place where time itself refused to move forward. It wasn't surrender yet. But it was no longer resistance. The water pounded against the tiles, each drop echoing the pounding in my chest. His nearness was overwhelming, a storm pressing down on me, every inch of space between us charged with the kind of electricity that could burn if either of us dared to move. My lips parted, my body caught in the gravity of his presence, when suddenly, a sound. It wasn't the water. It wasn't our breath. It was sharper, cutting through the steam. A faint click, like the creak of a doorknob or the shift of weight on the other side of the bathroom door. My heart leapt, colliding with the panic of being caught, and for a split second I froze. His body tensed too, his eyes darkening with something between defiance and desire. The silence stretched, except for the rush of the shower. Whoever, or whatever, was beyond that door didn't enter. But the thought of interruption made everything inside this room 10 times more dangerous. My pulse raced, my breathing sharper, and yet I couldn't step away. He leaned in, brushing his lips just close enough that I could feel the heat but not the contact, his voice a low whisper drowned by the water. "Don't move." The command was both a warning and a temptation, and my body betrayed me by obeying. His hand pressed firmer against the wall beside me, his other sliding to my waist as though anchoring me in place. I felt trapped, but not by force. Trapped by choice, by the way my body leaned into his touch despite the chaos in my mind. The air was suffocating now, the steam thick, the tension unbearable. Every brush of his thumb against my skin sent fire through me, every glance from his eyes dared me to cross the invisible line we had been dancing along. My knees trembled, yet I stood firm, unwilling to surrender, unwilling to resist. Then, the sound came again. Louder this time. A definite knock. The door rattled against its frame, and the shock of it nearly made me gasp out loud. His eyes locked onto mine, steady, fearless, burning with a question I didn't know how to answer. We were caught in something far bigger than desire now. Trapped between the fear of being discovered and the impossibility of stepping back, the moment twisted into something dangerous, thrilling, and utterly inescapable. The line hadn't been crossed yet. But in that knock, in that daring silence after, it felt inevitable. The shower roared around us, drowning out everything else, but nothing could mute the storm breaking loose between us. The moment of restraint snapped, the tension we had been clinging to finally collapsing under its own unbearable weight. His lips crushed against mine, not tentative this time, but fierce, desperate, raw. The taste of him was heat and hunger, the culmination of every glance, every stolen breath, every dangerous pause we had endured. My hands clutched at his shoulders, pulling him closer, as if proximity alone could quench the fire racing through me. His body pressed against mine, pinning me to the tiles, yet I didn't feel trapped. I felt claimed, undone, like I'd been waiting for this surrender all along. The coolness of the wall behind me only sharpened the burn of his touch, every inch of my skin alive, desperate for more. Breathless gasps tangled with the rush of water, our movements frantic yet controlled, like two forces caught in collision. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his eyes burning with something deeper than desire, something that terrified me with its intensity. His hand cupped my face, rough and tender all at once, as though he was memorizing me in that instant. And then, a violent bang rattled the bathroom door. Not a knock this time. A strike. We froze, lips still parted, bodies still pressed in reckless closeness. My pulse spiked, fear cutting through the haze of heat. He didn't move, his body shielding me instinctively, his breath sharp against my cheek. The sound came again, louder, more insistent. Whoever was on the other side wasn't going away. The passion still burned between us, wild and unstoppable, but now it was laced with danger. I could feel his heart racing against mine, not just from desire but from the awareness that we weren't as hidden as we thought. "Open up," a voice barked, firm, unfamiliar, chilling. We locked eyes, both of us caught in the realization that our secret moment was about to collide with a reality we hadn't prepared for. The climax wasn't just passion anymore, it was the terrifying knowledge that everything had changed. The line wasn't just crossed. It had been shattered. The pounding on the bathroom door echoed in the steam, sharp enough to break through the heat of the moment but not enough to push us apart. His body remained close, shielding me, his eyes locked on mine as though daring the world outside to intrude further. For a few suspended heartbeats, neither of us moved. The water cascaded down, muffling the sound, softening the chaos beyond these walls. Then, slowly, his lips brushed against mine again, this time gentler, deliberate, carrying a promise rather than a demand. It wasn't defiance. It was surrender. The banging stopped as abruptly as it had started, replaced by silence heavy with unanswered questions. But in that pause, the choice was already made. My hand slipped down his arm, anchoring myself to the strength I felt there. He exhaled, long and rough, his forehead resting against mine. "We shouldn't," I whispered, though my voice betrayed no certainty. "I know," he answered, though his grip at my waist told another story. And yet, neither of us stepped away. The tension hadn't dissolved, it had transformed, tempered into something steadier, deeper, something that would never fully vanish. What began as heat had settled into fire, one that would smolder quietly no matter what waited beyond that door. The shower continued its relentless song, washing over us, cleansing nothing, concealing everything. Our stolen moment was both dangerous and necessary, reckless and unforgettable. I knew, as his hand lingered against mine, that we would carry the weight of it long after the steam cleared. When the silence outside stretched too long to ignore, he finally pulled back, not far, just enough for air, enough to leave me trembling with what had almost happened and what still might. His smile was faint, knowing, a reminder that the line wasn't gone. Only postponed. And as I watched him turn toward the misty blur of the door, my breath caught again, not from fear this time, but from the quiet certainty that nothing between us would ever be the same. The fire hadn't ended. It had only just begun.